All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. We're good to go. Oh, we are set and ready. I am in. You locked in?
I'm locked in.
We're locked in, man. Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome to Cup of Joe with Jack. My name is Jack. I do not have my cup of Joe, but my guest over here, he has two separate drinks that are really, really cool. He's got his cup of Joe, and he's got another one. It's a, what is it? It's like a
Sparkling water.
sparkling water, liquid death.
Liquid death.
Liquid death. Yeah, it looks really cool. The artistry on the cup looks really, really good. On the mug and everything, that looks really cool. But he also has an amazing coffee cup here that says something that may pertain to something that we may be talking about.
Yes, I would say so.
Well, oh, I didn't even introduce you. Oh my goodness.
Man of mystery, I am.
Welcome. He's the man of no name here. Please welcome to the Cup of Joe show, Jeff Reisner. Thank you for joining in, man. We appreciate you. As Saka over here is going, woo!
Round of applause.
Yeah, woo!
You know?
Yeah. Well, thank you, dude. Thank you for joining me on the show. I appreciate you coming here. We are going to be talking about an amazing subject, and it is comics. Comics are a great way of, one person put it, escape. Another person put it, illustration. You had taught me how it was great to just pick up a book, read it for its story and for its background, and just get sucked into a world that isn't your own, that you could just join a character in a story and just go with it. But with that in mind, what specific line of comics are we talking about today?
Well, my fine friend, we're talking about one of my favorite writers. He started this company called Ghost Machine.
Mm.
It's published under Image Comics, but he has his own company called Ghost Machine. And he's launched a lot of brand new books, a little series, and he's got a lot of different creators on board with him too, as part of this company he started.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty amazing. It's some great stuff. We're gonna dive into it. We're gonna just do an overview of it, and then we'll dive into one of my favorite series out of the ones he's doing is Red Coat. We're gonna dive into.
Nice.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about Jeff. We're gonna talk about Ghost Machine. We're gonna talk about my overall love of comics. We're gonna dive into it. We're gonna talk about it. We're going to discuss it. We're going to have a good time.
We're going to have a good time. This is going to be two guys talking about an awesome comic book.
Right.
Awesome comic book line, dude. So, in an overview, Ghost Machine, when did it start? Who started it? Where is it going now?
Good questions. Well, I'm just a fan, so I said, of course, we'll suggest too that Jeff is going around the YouTube world and he's doing multiple interviews. There are great YouTubers out there. Just get on YouTube, type in Jeff Johns interview.
Mm-hmm.
You can find Jeff talking to Casually Comics is one, the Comic Pals is another. I mean, there's a bunch of YouTube. He's done several interviews, anyways, and he breaks it down way in depth. But essentially, as a fan, for me, just looking in it as a fan. It's Ghost Machine, I think, got announced at 2023 New York Comic Con, and they were at the con again in 24, and I think they're going to be there again this year in 25. I think,
Yeah,
doing more announcements and stuff because they got more books on the way. They're going to announce this year more stuff,
okay.
I believe, because 2024 really was the year they kicked things off in a big way for Ghost Machine because they did a Ghost Machine one shot. They launched Red Coat. They launched Rockefellers and Hornsby and Halo. They launched Hyde Street,
Which we were doing an overview of those other ones, and I'm telling you what, from the art to the storyline of all of these comic books is just top tier. I mean, top tier. And it's really cool because you were introducing to me that Jeff Johns wanted to make these comics not for publicity stunt, not for large amounts to be sold and in big companies, but to be quality wise, to be very focused. Oh, my mic, my mic stand there gave out on me for a second there.
Yeah, you're good. But Jeff's, he's worked at DC for like, I think 20 years or so, something like that. He worked for Richard Donner. If you know Richard Donner is the director of the Christopher Reeve Superman film.
Yeah.
And then he directed all of the Lethal Weapon movies as well, and amongst other films, and the Goonies. That's like the big three I know Donner from is Superman, Goonies, and Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked for him as an assistant. I think he interned with him, worked for him because he's from Jeff's from Detroit originally, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved to L.A. To go work for Donner. And he wrote, I think his first series was, he did Stars and Stripe and JSA at DC.
Mm-hmm.
He, first character he created, I believe one of the first characters was Courtney / she's Stargirl.
Yeah.
Based on his sister who passed away.
And JSA, that's Justice Society.
Justice Society of America.
Of America, yeah.
That's actually like the first ever, I think maybe the first ever superhero team ever. I know that's DC's first ever superhero team.
Okay.
For sure, because they were around in the 40s.
Yeah.
So they got 20 years before the Justice League was made,
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this was pre-Justice League. Then.
Yeah, this is pre-Justice League.
Okay.
And it's like characters like Dr. Fate, the original Flash, Jay Garrick, the original Flash, and so forth. The original Green Lantern, Alan Scott. Characters like Ted Grant, Wildcat.
Yeah.
And so Jeff did that. It's some great stuff. And then most people know Jeff from Green Lantern, which he would do after that.
Yeah, you were telling me about that, yeah.
Like he kicked off Green Lantern Rebirth in 2004, 2005, I believe, 2005, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he brought Hal Jordan back, because Hal Jordan was kind of like air quotes dead.
Yeah.
For a while there because he died in the 90s because he turned and became bad apparently and everything. Okay. And so Jeff, and he was running around as the Spectre actually for a while there, Hal Jordan was, but Jeff brought him back got him to did a story called Green Lantern Rebirth. Check it out, read it. We'll dive into that another time.
Yeah. That'll be for later
essentially
on.
It brings Hal Jordan back into the main focus of the Green Lantern, being the Green Lantern, if you will. There was a bunch. And he also brought the whole Corps back, and then that would lead into like Sinestro Corps War, and then also Blackest Night being like the biggest thing out of Jeff's Green Lantern run that most people know Jeff's Green Lantern from is the Blackest Night event. Yeah, and he did that. He did he's done Hawkman. I want to read. He's done Aquaman, which I haven't read yet. He did New 52 Aquaman. He also did a bunch of Superman stories with artist Gary Frank. Yeah. And when Gary Frank draws Superman, he draws him like Christopher Reeve, the way he looks and everything. Gary's one of my favorite artists. It's amazing. And they just collected all of Jeff's and Gary's Superman stories in one big, nice Absolute edition, which is an oversized hardcover slipcase edition that DC does for some of their premier, what they consider the premier stories a lot of times. And so it's a beautiful book. I got it. I'll bring it when we cover that too as well. That is sad. So Jeff's done a lot. He did do some Avengers at Marvel before he was DC exclusive essentially. Yeah. When he was doing JSA starting out. But pretty much Jeff was kind of like the DC guy for a long time. Okay. He's written lots of stuff for DC. I got most of it, not all of it. I want to get all of it because he also did Teen Titans for a while there too as well. Okay. So he's done lots of the major characters and some of the lesser known characters, and really brought a lot of love to those lesser known characters and uplifted them. You know what I mean? Put them in the limelight with some great stories. Yeah. Right. And then he also did a show which I'm watching right now finally, and I should have already watched it because it's so great. He did a show called Stargirl based on the character he created at DC. He did a live action show which is streaming on Max right now. Plus you can buy it on Blu-ray. I want to get it too on Blu-ray and have it physical copies. Right. But it's about
not a sponsor.
Yeah. We're not sponsored by anybody.
No.
This is just stuff I love and care, and I love and care about and appreciate. But it's if you want to watch Stargirl, you can either buy it on Blu-ray or It's streaming on Max right now too.
Yeah.
And that's where I've been watching it right now, streaming on Max.
Okay.
You know, it's a great, fun show. I highly recommend it. If you want like a breath of fresh air and some positivity with some fun action and adventure and a fun action adventure superhero show, go check it out because it's wonderful. I highly recommend it.
That's awesome.
So it's really great. And so Jeff's done all kinds of great stuff. You know, he's kind of like the Steven Spielberg of comics for me, if you will, because you know Spielberg is one of my favorite directors.
Yeah.
But Jeff puts a lot of sense of wonder and a lot of sense of character in his stories. Like there's lots of great character moments, and he really makes you love the characters. You know, the ones that he's writing, you really just love the characters the way he writes. I love the way he writes his characters. There's lots of great emotional moments in his stories that you remember a lot of times. Like lots of great action too. But some comics you can dive into it. I'm not just trying to discredit nobody or anything, but some comics are just a fun joyride where it's just like boom, 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 big splash pages, big action scenes, and it's just kind of like they're fun, they're great to look at, but you kind of don't have any like memorable moments from them.
Right.
You know, Jeff, the way he writes his characters, like you remember these great character moments, these quiet moments, these awesome, really deep character emotional moments with his characters, the way he writes stuff, honestly. And so, anyways, Jeff's done lots of stuff. He's teamed up with lots of great artists too. But Jeff, you know, he was kind of, I think 2018 it was or so, he announced like doing a company called Mad Ghost. And so he was still writing books at DC. And then he kind of stepped away from being chief creative officer at DC and became just writing books, just a writer again, mainly just focusing on writing.
Yeah.
And not being just DC like exclusive per se. And so he was working on Stargirl, but then he was writing, I think Doomsday Clock was wrapping up, which was the big, huge like Superman story. He was essentially it's a Superman story, but it was a big DC kind of almost event called Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
And so he was going to do some more work for hire stuff for DC with Gary, but they wanted to do some creator-owned stuff. And so him and Gary Frank did this book called Geiger. And they launched Geiger and published through Image, but their company under Geiger was called Mad Ghost at first.
Okay.
And so you had Geiger, which is about this guy that a nuclear war seemingly happens and just decimates America. And Geiger, who lived in Nevada, his home and everything is just now just a wasteland in your ways, right?
Yeah.
And they call him the survivors of the fallout like 20 years in the future from where the nuclear nukes were dropped. We're 20 years in the future, right?
Yeah.
And he's like in the wastelands there. He's protecting his family. His family got in the fallout shelter where they're safe.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil because we'll dive into Geiger on its own.
Yeah, on another one. Yeah.
So, but he's basically protecting this bunker, hoping that one day he can open it and reunite with his wife and children. But instead of dying, you know, in the blast, he got this ability where they call him, the nickname him the Glowing Man, because he has like these radioactive powers where he's like glowing green skeleton of radiation. You know what I mean? And he can kick some major butt, right? And he has a pet. He has a pet wolf. He has a pet two-headed wolf.
Yeah.
As well. There's Geiger. So they do that. It's great. It's amazing. They also do a book called Junkyard Joe, which is about this robot that is in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
With a guy named Maury Davis. They call him, his platoon calls him Muddy as a nickname.
Muddy.
So essentially, and it comes out, it's set in 72. So it's towards the end of the Vietnam War, last couple years of the Vietnam. Well, America's a major involvement in the Vietnam War, 72, 73, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, Muddy's like squad there, I believe, / platoon. I think it's more like just an immediate squad. They get killed, and so it's just. But Joe being and he gets revealed that he's a robot, and so Joe saves Muddy, but then Muddy, you know, is in an army hospital tent. I believe, you know, they call it a MASH tent, right? And so the doc there keeps telling him, like, you can't keep saying it's just all robot, or you won't be able to go back home like normal.
Yeah.
People think it's crazy, right?
Nuts, yeah.
Well, what he ends up doing, he makes a comic strip about Junkyard Joe, this robot, and we fast forward to present day, and for 50 years, Muddy did this comic strip in newspapers called Junkyard Joe.
Yeah.
That became a success. Financially, sorry, tongue twisted. It became a just successful, well loved comic strip, kind of like in how we in our world love Peanuts and Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Or if you know Calvin and Hobbes, you love Calvin and Hobbes, right? Two big major comic strips right there. And we'll dive into Junkyard Joe at a later date too.
Yeah.
So Geiger happens, Junkyard Joe happens. They talked about maybe doing some Jeff and doing some more work for hire stuff at DC, because Jeff, by the way, just wrapped up actually, and his second hardcover is actually going to come out in February. He did one final Justice Society of America series actually at DC still.
Okay.
And so it kind of wrapped up all the JSA stuff he did like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It kind of wrapped up all of that from my understanding. It kind of put a nice bow on all the JSA he did.
Okay.
So I've only read the first half. I haven't read the second half. I'm waiting for the other hardcover to come out of the other last 6 issues of his 12-issue, return to that. He also did another Stargirl series there too, one as well. But anyways, he basically went to some other creators, mainly guys that worked at DC that I know from DC stuff, like Peter Tomasi, Francis Manapul, Brian Hitch. Which Brian Hitch, I discovered his name because he drew most of the Ultimates with Mark Miller. Which the Ultimates was which would become the Ultimate Avengers.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it looked so much like it was
like
based
the movies.
Off the
well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, the way that Brian Hitch drew those characters, especially the way he drew Captain America, definitely was the inspiration and foundation for the way the MCU would look.
Yeah.
So there's that. He gets his creators rounded up, and I believe it was 23, where I'm wondering, like, are they going to do more Geiger? Are they going to do more Junkyard Joe? Right? And so because there was a Geiger one-shot 80-page giant that came out in 2022 that did some more story, introduced us to, like, I think Redcoat appeared in that first too. Simon Pure, the Redcoat character, appeared in that first. So I'm a little fuzzy. Anyways, I think it was New York Comic Con 23. They announced all these creators are on board. Pete Tomasi, Francis Manapul, Brian Hitch. They're going to do more Geiger. Him and Gary Frank are. They're going to do Hyde Street. Him and Ivan. That Ivan drew Blackest Night with Jeff, like Green Lantern. They're going to do a horror and a book called Hyde Street, kind of very Twilight Zone kind of feeling kind of book. Pete Tomasi is going to do a book called Rockefellers and Hornsby and Halo. And they got more announcements to come here soon. They go of more books. They're going to launch the book Redcoat finally with Brian Hitch.
Yeah.
Right. So they announced too, instead of calling it Mad Ghost, they announced the company's going to be called Ghost Machine. And like, get on YouTube, they got like a trailer out. They released at Comic-Con, showing you all the stuff they've done so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, check them out. And then, like, we're not sponsored by anybody, but I'm gonna just, shameless, like, plug here,
dude,
of us promoting, because
when you have just awesome people doing such beautiful work in their artwork, in their writing, in the inking, I mean, in everything, this team of people, Jeff Johns and all of them, have just blown everything out of the water with this work. I mean, just everything has been rewrote in a good way,
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy the way they're taking it too. It's really cool how they're taking it too, where they're really focusing on the quality. Like I was saying before, that quality of what you're talking about is what their passion is, and that's what their heart goes out to.
Well, these are great creators that are, like, able to just run free now with creative stuff. Like, they own this company, and, like, the way it's set up is pretty unique, to where each creator owns a part of the company. So it's kind of like they're one team. So, like, if Redcoat sells well, everyone's going to be happy. Even the people that don't work on that book, right?
Right.
They still have a stake in the company, though. They're all a team. So they want all the books to be great quality. They want all the books to succeed together and sell well together. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, Jason Fabok, who Rook Exodus. I forgot to mention Rook Exodus. So that's Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok did Rook Exodus.
Amazing.
And so I saw an interview with Jason. And you just get on YouTube and watch interviews with Jason. He's done a lot of interviews too. And he said, like if someone comes up to me and says Redcoat's their favorite book, I'm still going to be happy because that's still part of our company. That's, what I mean? So it's really unique where no one's trying to outcompete each other because they're all working towards getting all the books to be great quality. They're all even though they're not working on all the books together per se individually when it comes to writing and drawing them. Right. They all want all the books to succeed and be as best as possible. Mm-hmm. So they launched Ghost Machine and they really start releasing all these new series in 2024. Mm-hmm. So like Redcoat's on number 9 so far. Hyde Street is on number 3 so far. And number 4 will be coming out next month. And they launched another Geiger series. It's on it's like on number 10 already.
Really?
Yeah, number 11. Oh, sorry, I just messed up that word. Sorry. Number 11.
Number 11, yeah.
It's coming out here soon too.
Gotcha.
And plus, I'm behind on reading it, honestly. I got to catch up. Mm-hmm. But I know that issue 10 introduced us to, they called Geiger, they nicknamed him the Glowing Man.
Yeah.
We just met somebody like Geiger for the first time, and they call her the Glowing Woman.
Oh,
so that actually sold so well, went to second printing actually too, because people, we don't, who is the Glowing Woman? We don't know. Yeah. So we got introduced to someone like Geiger now. I believe for the first time, which I'm behind on reading it. I believe that's correct. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, if you love comics, if you love great stories, these are some of the best creators out there doing some creator-owned stuff, and they're putting all their love and passion into it. Like you said, it's pretty amazing what they're doing. I'm buying them. I'm getting them all, honestly. And like my main focus, I love the superhero stuff. I really, really do. Mm-hmm. And I will continue to love the superhero comics and superhero, those worlds. Yeah. But like, these are fresh ideas, original ideas. So, as we've talked about, off mic, just you and I earlier today, you don't have to, like, I love learning all the history of the superheroes, all the decades worth of material and stories and mythology behind them. Mm-hmm. But with this stuff, the series are not too far out yet. You can hop in right now. Right.
Anybody can just be introduced into this world without having to know this and that and where this and that and this came from. It's just totally jump in, have fun, know exactly kind of what's going on. Now, for these, for each one, it's its own like area, but there's this interesting part of it that makes you think and believe. I don't know because I think he's made it official or not, but it's all part of one world.
Well, I was going to say, we know officially for sure that Redcoat, Geiger, and Junkyard Joe, those three are connected, and they're on one universe called the Unnamed Universe. Yeah. Or the Geigerverse, however you want to call it. Yeah. But officially it's called the Unnamed Universe. So those 3 books are connected. Like, so Redcoat, Junkyard Joe, and Geiger, they're all taking place all in the same universe. Mm. Now, as far as we know now, he said that officially, Hyde Street is its own universe, over here. Mm-hmm. Rook Exodus for sure, like him and Jason Fabok. Hold on a second. Yeah. Sorry,
ladies and gentlemen. He had to clear his throat here. So, catch his breath here.
Yeah. And so Rook Exodus it's its own world too. That's its own universe over here, right? Yeah. And then like we got the Family Odysseys universe over here. That's Peter Tomasi's, doing Rockefellers and Hornsby Halo. Mm-hmm. That's over there under like they're calling it the Family Odysseys universe over there. Yeah. So, the main sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted. But anyways, we got some different universes going on. Mm-hmm. But like I said, you can hop in right now. Fresh ideas, fresh characters, original ideas. They're great, creative. It's great. It's just I don't know how else to put it, but it's just great quality stuff. And one thing for me as a comic book reader that I'm loving is that they're doing cardstock covers. Yes. Which means like the paper on like each individual comic, the cover is nice, thick cardstock paper. Yeah. Great. So like it's not like super thin and flimsy on the cover. It holds well together anyways. And so when you pick it up, it's nice and like just really thick, good feeling paper on your cover. Yeah. And I think it makes the artwork just pop better and everything too.
Honestly,
as well on your cover.
Yeah,
And
I
plus
agree.
they're keeping it at the $3.99 price range. That's your normal price range for a single issue comic these days.
And for a comic like that to be $3.99, I
Right.
mean, you can't
'Cause,
beat that for
mm,
sure.
So some of the I'll just say like the big two companies of comics, if they do a cardstock cover, most of the time they're going to charge you more, like $5.99 or
Right.
so at least for that cardstock because of that thicker paper.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but thankfully they're able to keep it at $3.99 and give you a nice cardstock cover on your single issue comic. But Ghost Machine, they're doing all kinds of stuff, great stuff. Like I said, we're not sponsored by anybody, but I'm gonna just plug for them. There is a YouTube channel, official Ghost Machine Pro YouTube. I follow them on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah.
They have a Ghost Machine Pro as their Instagram handle. Follow them on Instagram. Follow Jeff Johns on Instagram. He's got an Instagram too, official Instagram. That way you can keep up to date with all the news of what's happening with Ghost Machine, what's happening with Jeff Johns and everybody at Ghost Machine, Pete Tomasi, Gary Frank, Brian Hitch, Francis Manipool, Jason Fabuk, and they're all of them at Ghost Machine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't remember. I hadn't listed everybody because everybody they listed. They're going to do more announcements this coming year on other books coming out too.
Yeah.
And so lots of exciting stuff. And really, hold on one second.
Yeah, you're good. I was just checking my mic to see. Yep, it's still going.
And so I was just grabbing my book here
Yeah.
to show that in the back of each Ghost Machine comic right now, like the unnamed universe,
Mm-hmm.
there's a timeline Jeff has had for a while actually set up.
Okay.
So like,
That's the one that you were showing me
Yes.
earlier. Yes.
so we got a timeline. And some of these characters and books are not out yet,
Mm-hmm.
but like 1776, Redcoat becomes immortal, and here soon they teased him in this Ghost Machine one shot, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute,
Yeah.
where they did this one shot comic launching all the new characters and new books, right?
Mm-hmm.
For 2024. But there's a new character that Simon Redcoat's going to meet here soon, and I think issue 11.
Okay.
Yeah, issue
Gotcha.
10 is going to meet Annie Oakley.
Yeah.
Issue 11 he's going to meet a guy named just called the Northerner.
Northerner.
The Northerner
Hey,
begins.
me.
Yeah, I was going to say the Northerner begins his hunt in 1864 apparently,
Yeah.
and then in 1944, it says that the monster is made, whoever that is.
Huh.
And then Junkyard Joe comes online in 1972, right?
Yeah.
And then in 1997, someone called Widow X has her revenge,
Yeah.
whoever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then present day, first ghost is captured on film,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then 5 years from present day is when something called the Unknown War erupts. Okay? And then
Gotcha.
Geiger walks across America 25 years from now.
Oh, wow.
So we have a timeline here, right? Showing you from where Redcoat is our first character that kicks off this whole unnamed universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it says right here in a little excerpt, throughout history, unlikely and strange heroes have risen and fallen. These men and women are a mystery. Their identities and lives a secret. But for a great evil to be stopped, their stories must be told. From a radioactive family man in the near future to a British assassin during the American Revolution, to a robotic killing machine seeking its creator, and more. They are the unnamed fighting the unknown war.
Hmm.
So, like
Wow.
I said, we're going to get a lot of connections and talking, through I'm really excited how these characters are connected.
Yeah.
Now, we'll say this. There's a symbol that shows up in Redcoat as we dive into it.
Yeah.
We see in Redcoat's era.
Mm-hmm.
That also is on Junkyard Joe's dog tags. That symbol ties some sort of secret society together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit behind on reading, but so far we don't know who these people are,
Right.
what they're doing. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But somehow it's all connected here.
Yeah.
And see, I'm gonna grab my copy of Ghost Machine number 1 here, the one shot.
Yeah. Gotta fix his luscious head of hair there, man.
yeah,
He's
my
got
hair's
this
long right
mane, what's that one guy's name? The male model guy.
Fabio.
Fabio. He's got his
Oh,
Fabio. Just, whoa.
Let's not go that far now.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, so this Ghost Machine one shot Now it was actually $4.99 because it was a really thicker, longer issue here.
Yeah.
Because it launched all these books. You know, we got a little tease, essentially, of Hyde Street, the horror, the horror scary kind of book, right?
Yeah.
Very Twilight Zone kind of S kind of feeling. We got a little, excuse me, sorry.
Nah, you're good.
Excuse me. We got a little tease, excerpt here of the Rockefellers, Hornsby and Halo, as well as the new Geiger series that launched, and Redcoat. So this kind of covered, and Exodus is in here too.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like just a launch point, giving you a little bit of like story to what's going on.
Right.
And so basically, I'm gonna just read right quick.
We're going through the whole thing. I'm just totally joking.
I'm just gonna read right quick here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Here we go. A little bit from the Ghost Machine one shot here.
Yeah.
Welcome to the first fully shared creator-owned universe, Ghost Machine. We believe in two vital principles. First, great comics from sorry. Boy, oh boy. Very professional sounding, aren't I? But anyways, we believe in two vital principles. First, great comics come from great characters. True. And second, equity comes from true artistic ownership. I also agree that is a very true statement too. Committed to these ideals and inspired by so many who came before us, Ghost Machine is introducing new characters from all genres, with the unnamed featuring the action-packed Geiger, Junkyard Joe, and Redcoat, and the sprawling sci-fi saga of Rook, the family odysseys of the Rockefellers and their friends, and the horror universe of Hyde Street. Our heroes' stories are painted across the epic tapestries of American history, the deepest reaches of space, the neighborhood one street over of Hyde Street. Yeah, that's putting it mildly there if you read Hyde Street. And the dark secrets that people hide from the rest of the world. Building on the groundbreaking foundation of Image Comics, we prioritize the artists and understand the power that comes from uniting with others. To that end, we completely co-own our company, characters, and universes together, sharing and publishing, but also in media, merchandise, and beyond. Best of all, we are only the first wave of writers and artists who will form Ghost Machine. However, Ghost Machine isn't only for the creators of today, but for the creators of tomorrow. We all dreamed of working for Marvel and DC when we first started out, but we didn't want the next generation of artists and writers to simply work for Ghost Machine. As our company grows, we will invent tomorrow superstars to join our Ghost Machine family and co-own the universe of characters we're all building together. So it's a very awesome, unique thing they're doing with Ghost Machine, with that the whole team is doing there and everything, and it's pretty exciting. And actually, here's the list of the creators they have so far, and their motto, like little motto, is "Creators you know, characters you love. Welcome to Ghost Machine." So Jason Fabuk, Gary Frank, Brian Hitch, Jeff Johns, Lamont. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher some of these names. Francis Maniple, Brad Meltzer, Ivan, and I can't pronounce Ivan's last name for sure either, because he's from Brazil. Man, it's big Portuguese in Brazil. I can't pronounce his last name, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Peter Steinberg, Peter Tomasi, and I can't pronounce her name, unfortunately, at all. I am sorry. I'm not even I can't even try. My apologies.
It's like trying to read the names at graduation,
Yeah, it's like, and I don't.
That
wanna
is
just,
one
I
thing I would
butcher
never want to
people's
do.
names by no means.
Yeah,
but
no.
Check out Ghost Machine on social media. Like I said, I follow them on Instagram. That's what I got, Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
They have an official website, too, where you can buy Ghost Machine merch. I have a Redcoat t-shirt. I got a Junkyard Joe hat, which is sitting on the table over here.
And it's amazing looking.
It's a great quality hat.
And the cover right now that you're looking at, I mean, has all of it sitting right there. The cup to the comic to the coffee bag. It's sitting right there.
Well, I was going to say that the coffee bag is something that they teamed up with a company called Comics Own Coffee.
Okay.
I believe the package is they're out of Fort Myers, Florida.
Okay.
But they, Comics Own Coffee. They have a licensing with Warner Brothers in DC, so they got Lord of the Rings themed coffee officially licensed. I got one called Baggins Blend. It's like hazelnut, phenomenal. And they got a Batman coffee that's called the Dark Knight Roast.
Hmm.
And it's wonderful. But they got like Superman themed coffee, Supergirl, Batgirl, Joker, Scarecrow, DC characters themed coffee, Poison Ivy. Then they got Ghost Machine teamed up with them. And I got a light roast called Ghost Roast. And then there's a Hyde Street coffee as well. It's blood orange. So Comics own coffee. They have a website too. They have Instagram too. Check them out. If you love coffee, believe me, I'm loving it. It's great quality coffee. It's fantastic. Plus, I love supporting, a small, more of a small independent business per se, by all means.
Yeah, exactly.
So check them out. But I love them. It's great. If you love great coffee, and the bags are amazing quality too. Honestly, on its own too.
Oh my gosh!
So
the attention to detail on it was what got me. Yeah.
I'm gonna read just a little bios here.
Yeah.
I'll just do Geiger, Junkyard Joe, and Redcoat is what I'll do for now.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna save that for when we do Geiger and Junkyard Joe.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm just
gonna do Simon. I'm just gonna do Redcoat for the moment.
Okay. Yeah, and then kind of dive into
that.
There.
But that's a rundown. Just a quick rundown of Ghost Machine, if you will.
Yeah.
In general, I could go on and on, but we'll dive into it more as we go further on with each character in each series, and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm a little rusty on the podcasting end of things and everything, but hopefully, I just want to talk about something that I love with my good friend Jag here.
Yeah.
As the main thing of what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so talk about something I'm passionate about and just do it and have fun with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I love Ghost Machine. I love Jeff Johns. He's one of my favorite writers. I love Brian Hitch. I love all these creators. These are great creators. They're great books. Check them out. I'm telling you, there's lots of great comics too, that are going on besides what they're doing, but they're doing some great stuff. But anyways, our character, we're going to dive in to Redcoat number 1. And here's a little bio about Redcoat, because if you know Marvel and DC, they used to do a lot of bios, and Marvel, they had a official guide to the Marvel Universe, I believe it was called Official Handbook, where they had little bios about each Marvel character, in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
And then DC did one called DC's Who's Who. These are kind of modeled after the DC Who's Who. And Redcoat here, birth name Simon Pure, age forever because he's immortal.
Yep.
27, height 6'3", weight 205 pounds, eyes blue, hair blonde. First appearance Geiger, 80-page giant number 1, 2022. History: British Redcoat, an all-around rogue. Simon Pure shipped out of England to fight the rebellion that had erupted with the American colonies in 1776. During the Battle of Trenton on Christmas Day in 1776, Simon mysteriously became immortal after an unplanned run-in with the clandestine cabal known as the Founding Fathers, which included George Washington, John Hancock, and many other prominent American Revolutionary War leaders. Since that fateful day, Simon lives a charmed life of personal adventure and enrichment, though those who have come to know him describe it more as a selfish and aimless string of failed relationships. He's worked many different jobs, but as a self-described solitary man, Simon even eventually found he excelled at being a mercenary for hire. Along his travels, Simon has interacted with many of history's most renowned figures, including Benedict Arnold, the only other surviving immortal from the Revolution, Albert Einstein, Annie Oakley, and many more. Most of his interactions turn out unpleasant for all involved, man, woman, and child alike.
Wow.
Ability: Simon is an immortal being, meaning he simply can't die. However, he feels every wound inflicted upon him, finds himself in a near constant state of hunger and living in poverty, though that last one is of his own doing. Having lived for centuries, Simon has first-hand knowledge of history and uses it to his advantage, when and if he remembers it. He has vast experience with all manners of weaponry developed since the 18th century, and despite lacking any natural talent, he's a brilliant marksman. If you do something long enough, you just get good at it, he claims. Simon also has the innate ability to irritate practically everyone he meets. He may or may not have other supernatural power connected to his immortality, but he really has no idea.
Wow.
So there you go. That's a rundown of Simon there.
Simon. A
Simon
little bit
Pure.
of background of who that character
Simon
is.
Pure.
Simon
the red coat.
Pure. Pure.
You know? So, let's see. Hopefully, everybody hearing me okay? Everybody hearing me okay?
Yeah. It's been so good. I actually been just checking on myself. Like, you've been sounding great this whole time. So that's why I have it like this. Because I can hear myself through here. So I'm like making sure I'm like getting picked up.
I'm glad I got my liquid death sparkling water and to warm me up my, Comics on Coffee Ghost Roast and my official Ghost Machine coffee mug. Speaking about Ghost Machine merch, what a fantastic classic ceramic mug that's with the amazing, wonderful Ghost Machine logo on the front.
Yeah, and it's a larger font too, and it's
nice, big, and prominent right there.
Boom, right.
Which everybody will be able to see that in our in our photo for the
of
the thumbnail of this video or audio recording on there. You can check it out. But I highly recommend. I mean, like I said again, not sponsored by nobody. This is me. I've spent my own money, not sponsored. My own money, hard-earned money.
This is hard.
Because I love
cash, man.
Look, I love great comics. I love these people. I love all these creators. Even though I can't pronounce some of their names, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I love these creators. I love these comics. I love the merch they got too. By the way, it's great It's great t-shirts, great hats, great coffee mug, and then I'm glad they teamed up with Comics on Coffee for some great coffee because I love coffee. I love great comics. I love great coffee.
Yeah.
So I got hand in hand, great comics and great coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed with Ghost Machine.
Oh no.
What they're doing, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what they're going to be doing in the future. Jeff and Brian Hitch, I've watched interviews with them. They say they have enough. They plan on doing these books are going to be ongoing series. So there's no stopping in sight.
No.
And they're going to last a long time.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, it's going to be something when Geiger has a higher number than Superman because Superman keeps, will get as a lot of superheroes keep getting relaunched. So the numbering will just restart. With new number ones. But it's going to be something when Geiger actually surpasses what number Superman's on. That's going to be an awesome thing to see. Yeah. And they have enough story for Redcoat for 50 issues right now. So that's a few years of material right there.
And they're only on what?
Issue 9. 9 is the current issue for Redcoat.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
It's going to be amazing.
Man.
But let's dive into issue 1 right here. Issue 1 of Redcoat.
It's where it starts it all, guys. You getting ready?
Sorry, I cleared my throat again. So, anyways, issue 1 opens up 1775, and Paul Revere. If you know your history at all, or if you just remember learning this in school, even Paul Revere and his famous ride, warning everybody the British are coming, the Redcoats are coming, right? So he's on his famous ride, and all of a sudden he gets hit in the head with a rock. Right, and he gets knocked off his horse, and there's your British soldiers around him, and they start just kicking him. They're just beating on him. They're just beating on him bad, just beating him like you see some blood kind of spat out of his mouth. He gets kicked in the face.
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden, there's the best way I can describe it is it looks like a giant, like a insect. I say big. It's like the size of almost a small bird. It looks like insect. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of a firefly, you know what I mean, lightning bug, however you want to call it. They just start swarming these British soldiers, right? And they fly in through their mouths, actually, and go inside them.
Oh my God!
And then all of a sudden, the British soldiers kind of combust from the inside out.
Oh man!
And Paul Revere's kind of he goes, by the Lord. He's like, what the heck's going on here, essentially?
Yeah.
And as John Hancock, he called in these insects through what it seems to be magic. And John Hancock saves Mr. Revere. He goes, Mr. Revere, you got a ride to finish. So he's like, he's telling Paul to finish this famous ride, right? Yeah. Well, then it cuts to December 25th, 1776, right? And our main character here, the Redcoat, Simon Pure, is on the run from the Continental Army. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's on the run of the Continental Army, right? He's running, and of course he's narrating, and he says, no, I'm what some would call a coward, others a cheat, and to my fellow soldiers, I deserted in Trenton and absconded. Sorry, I cracked myself up. He says, no, I'm what some would call a coward, others a cheat, and to my fellow soldiers I deserted in Trenton and absconded. Sorry, I butchered that word. And absconder. Sorry.
Absconder.
Which I take as quite the compliment, he says. Absconders live to see another day. You know what I mean? Which is true. Though thanks to Washington and his lies, I'll have to see all of them, I suppose, till the end of time itself. My name is Simon Pure, though I'm anything but, as you'll come to know. So he's on the run from the Continental Army. He goes hides in an old church here.
Yeah.
And the Brian Hitch draws, a classic looking church from that era. Of course, the cemetery's by it. That used to be a thing where the church was there, the cemetery would be about the church.
Yeah.
Because they always would bury people, have a ceremony, right, and everything. So that was always the case. So usually a cemetery would be close by the church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right? So he's hiding in a church loft, right? And all of a sudden he said, I should have left, or he goes, now admittedly I have many traits that have served me poorly in life, he says. Okay? He said, I have many traits that have served me poorly in life. Okay? He said, curiosity being but one. I should have left, or at the very least stayed put. And there's some people talking in the church here, right? He says, but I had questions arising as I heard men scurry about below. I'm skipping over a lot of things. I don't want to spoil it per se, because I really want people to go out and buy the book themselves.
Yeah.
I really want you to buy the book, enjoy the book yourself, read it for yourself. I'm telling you, you'll love it because it's got an Indiana Jones-esque adventure to it.
Okay.
With also like the comedy of Pirates of the Caribbean to it too, because you're kind of close to that era. Pirates of the Caribbean, that kind of era as well too. So that's kind of the feel we're going for. So like I said, check it out for yourself, read it. But we're diving down and we're talking about it. We're talking about Redcoat #1 here. And he saw the flickering of torches, right? He's looking down the loft, and all of a sudden we have a 2-page spread here. And Brian Hitch is a British artist. He's been working on comics for a long time. I can't tell you how long, but a very long time now at this point. I think he's probably been working in comics for like 30 years maybe.
Really?
Wow. So, time flies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know he broke into comics before Ultimates, but I got to know Brian's work through, like I said, I hadn't read all of the Ultimates by him and Mark Miller. I need to finally break down and get the whole, all the Ultimates by Mark Miller and Brian Hitch, because it is really some great, great interesting story. Great, I get tongue twisted easily. I'm sorry, my friend. But anyways, it's some great stuff, great stories.
Yeah.
By all means, it's got there's some interesting moments for sure that I'll just I'll save for one day if we discuss the Ultimates that are definitely not so great, I will say honestly. But overall, it laid the foundation for the look of the MCU. Like I said, especially with the Captain America looks, with like his classic Captain America, his mask is more of a cowl that he can just pull up over his face.
Yeah.
But like, and the Ultimates, Brian Hitch drew it more like a helmet. You know what I mean? Like a leather kind of like esque body armor helmet.
Yeah.
With a chin strap. And that if you look at Chris Evans' Captain America, he looks just like that. You know what I mean? Just like a Brian Hitch drawing to me, honestly. And so that's where I discovered Brian Hitch. But Brian Hitch has worked for Marvel and DC. Like, I think one of the more recent DC stuff I got that he drew, I think they dusted off a story they had on the shelf written by Warren Ellis. And Brian drew it, and Kevin Nolan inked it. Batman Graveyard Shift, I believe it's called. I have the hardcover. I haven't even read it yet. But so he's drew. That reminds me. he's been working on Ghost Redcoat, but he's finally about to wrap up this 3-issue limited series that Mark Waid wrote called Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
So he's still doing some superhero stuff still.
Yeah, still kind of going with the
Right.
DC just a little bit.
Yeah, because like he's in a position where he being a freelancer essentially, I believe, right? He considered a freelancer.
Yeah.
He can kind of work for himself or work for DC or whoever. Because like I said, there's so many. I'm telling you, I'm all about positivity. I'm all about constructive criticism. Like I'm gonna point out things I don't like and be honest, but I'm not gonna just be like
trashing.
Like go bleh, and just like trash. Because like it was one thing about the internet, social media. People get on there, they can just tear things down, say it's trash, and just destroy stuff.
Yeah.
I might complain a little bit when things are lackluster for me, especially with certain movies and stuff. But I'm not going to just be like, bleh, just like it's all just negative and just blah.
Right.
But so I'm all about some positivity. I'm all about constructive criticism. Like Brad Bird, one of my favorite directors. Right there's an episode we can do. We're just kind of, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of just shooting from the hip a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this is our first show together, but folks, we're going to put things out consistently. I promise you that. My goal is to be consistent. Like Jeff Johns, one of my heroes, if you will, when it comes to just, one of my favorite comic book writers, but just one of my favorite creative people in general. He talked about Ghost Machine. He said, we're going to put these books out consistently. We're going to make these books be consistent. We're going to put them out. They're going to be a long, ongoing series. That really got me fired up, and that's one thing I wanted to do was have an outlet to talk about something I'm passionate about and be consistent about it. You know what I mean? So, folks, we're gonna put out these episodes consistently. We have a schedule, we got a whole time frame. We're gonna do this so we can be consistent, right? But one of my favorite directors, we'll talk about him. We'll make an episode about him one day. Brad Bird. If you don't know him, I highly recommend look him up. There's interviews with him on YouTube. I love looking up interviews with creative people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Love behind the scenes stuff. Love knowing how they think, what they do, the process, right? And so Brad Bird, he directed The Iron Giant. Favorite movie of all time for me. I got a long list of movies I love. That right there, number one movie of all time for me, The Iron Giant. He also directed a little known Pixar film called The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Brad Bird. He also directed, I think, the 4th Mission Impossible movie, by the way, Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
I think it's the 4th one. I could be wrong. We need to ask our friend Christian Tyree. He's my Mission Impossible.
Dude, he is
guy.
number one.
Yeah, he's like the biggest Mission Impossible fan that I know.
Yeah.
So he would know. But I know that the movie that Brad Bird directed, the Mission Impossible movie he directed, it's called Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol? Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. I hope I'm wrong. Forgive me if I'm sorry. I said I hope I'm wrong.
I hope I'm wrong.
I hope I'm right. I could be wrong, but I hope I'm right.
I hope I'm right. Yeah.
So I hope I'm right, but I could be wrong. Anyways, which I think they announced that Brad's coming back to do a 3rd Incredibles movie.
Yeah.
We've gotten 2. They're going to do a 3rd one, by the way. Side note. So if you love The Incredibles, I enjoy them, love them by all means, because that's one of the best superhero films I think still today is that first Incredibles movie, honestly.
Yeah.
You want a superhero movie, put that movie on. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, he said, I'm paraphrasing. I'm kind of changing it up a little bit. He said 3 things. If you don't like something, 1, you don't like it. 2, why don't you like it? And 3, how can I make it better?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That's how I want to be. It's easy just to say something is just bad quality, and just trash it. But I want the challenge of, well, I don't like this. Why don't I like it? How could I make it better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah.
That's a thing I've been saying for years to people, is that we don't get enough good constructive criticism. And because you want to be, if I'm going to tell you that this is not good, I don't want to just say, well, it's just, you're just, is trash. You know what I mean? Or it's like if you're trying to learn to play guitar, it says it's anybody that they're bad at playing guitar. How about you just say, well, you don't sound good, but here's why I think that way, and here's how we can make it, and then learn how to, figure out a way to grow and be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So to kind of segue this back into Redcoat and everything,
Yeah.
like where we were starting from.
Yeah.
Where did we end with so far in the Redcoat? Like where did we kind of end at? Do you know in the
I got
story?
you. Sorry, I can get off on tangents and kind of just
Oh, no,
ramble
you're
and
okay.
ramble.
You're good.
But my point was I was talking about we're always want to be consistent, and we'll try to make good quality podcasting here as best as we can. And I think the more like Simon said with his marksmanship, if you do something long enough, you'll be good at it. I think with anything you do, you keep doing it, you'll be good at it. You know what I mean? All about practice. But anyways, back to Redcoat, back to our story.
Yeah.
When he's looking down and he's in the loft of the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
He sees these guys in these cloaks and hoods. Okay, like it looks like a little bit of an occult stuff going on here.
Yeah.
They got Ben Franklin on a stone table.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
And Ben Franklin apparently is saying, I waited my whole life for this opportunity. And he calls this one guy, to proceed the ceremony, he calls him a grand architect. Whatever. We don't know who these people are. We don't know exactly, right?
No,
And so they're about to do a magic spell. And then Simon says the whole building begins to shake. It's shook.
Yeah.
So he lost his footing, unfortunately.
Okay.
He falls down into the group of guys in these robes hanging around Ben Franklin. And, of course, they're all freaking out going, get him. And then Simon's like punching and kicking and trying to get away. And then the spell of there's like a cold, almost like a small cauldron, if you will. Not really a big pot, but like a small bowl. Big bowl, if you will, with like kind of like with put all the magic ingredients in, if you will, with the spells about to happen. And Simon accidentally gets hit by the spell instead of Ben Franklin. So he gets hit, boom, right? Hits by this blue light, this blue energy, it looks like, of some sort of magic. And, of course, everyone's kind of like, the guys in the robes are like telling Ben Franklin, like, we just need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Right? So a big, huge burst of magical energy busts out the top of the church.
Yeah.
In a big just moment, right? And then Simon says, that was the first time that I died. He says, I woke up later, buried under the remains of the church. So he's buried under the remains, but then he wakes up alive. So he becomes immortal by accident.
Yeah.
And so then when we fast forward 116 years later, and it's November of 1892, and these guys bust into his room. He thinks it's the landlord because he's 3 days behind on like paying, for his room to stay there, right?
Yeah.
When it's just these guys going like, I said, I don't recognize them. But he's like, I know why they're here though.
Yeah.
And it goes to like a little compilation of 1790. Some guys pointing a gun at Simon going, you killed my brother. 1827. There's a guy going, you killed my father. And then it goes back to the present day story of 1892. And the guy's busted in on Simon right now going, you killed my favorite cousin. So Simon's been a mercenary for hire. So you can imagine if you're a mercenary for hire, you probably made some people's families angry if you've been paid to take some people out
through the generations,
right?
and everything.
Through different eras, and he can't die. So he's been alive. Like so this story was taking place in 1892. He's been alive for 116 years. You know what I mean, right? Well, I think technically he's been alive longer than that, but he's been immortal for 116 years. And so he fights his way out. He busts through the window and escapes, and he lands on top of a big stagecoach here going through town. Yeah. And he's kind of running through the streets here, and then a young kid sees him speaking in German. And this young kid turns out to be Albert Einstein, a young teenage Albert Einstein, which if you know history, of course, Albert Einstein, his theory of relativity, Albert Einstein, equals MC squared.
Mhm.
Of course, Albert Einstein helped discover learn about splitting an atom
Mhm.
and everything, right? And of course, Oppenheimer really developed the atomic bomb, but Einstein had a hand in, of course, getting there and splitting an atom and everything,
Yeah.
right? So he meets a young teenage Albert Einstein, and of course, Simon talks about how he's not been very marvelous when it comes to his romances of romancing women per se.
Yeah.
We go through another compilation of women calling him a scoundrel and a liar, again slapped in the face, and him narrating, go like, 1779, I deserve that. 1820, and that probably, and then now 1892, this too.
That's that call back to the Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think it's probably like an inspiration from Captain Jack Sparrow.
Because we
a little
remember that
bit.
one time, Sam, where he walks up into the port or something,
Yeah,
and he like talks to those two women.
and
Hey, how are
and
you?
then
And then
pow.
pow, and he's like,
So
I deserve that.
I deserve that, right? And so unfortunately, she sells him out. This
Mhm.
woman he's kind of had a relationship with that runs a bar here, that he also has not paid for his meals or the drinks he's been drinking as well too. So
For a long time.
she
now.
sells
Oh,
him
yeah.
out. The three guys that are after Simon, that apparently he killed this guy's favorite cousin, as he said. They
Mhm.
bust in. There's a bar fight. There's and everything. Well, Simon gets shot and stabbed and dies.
Mhm.
Well, air quotes, right? He goes, in the moments I'm dead before I'm alive, a piece of the old world always replays itself before my eyes, right? And
Mhm.
apparently he has memory flashes of his dad talking to him. His dad just tells him he's useless, which they're like, well, what a great dad, right? I'm being
Yeah.
sarcastic there. So he had kind of a rough life, it sounds like Simon did. But he's saying something like, it goes dark, and then when after he wakes back up after going dark, after like almost, he dies, air quotes, because he's immortal.
Mhm.
His ears pop. I find that kind of interesting. But he said the time I go dark varies. He says that it takes about 24 hours. Sometimes it's been less or more, depending on the odd occasion. And he's like, the first few times I panicked and died again, being buried alive. I imagine so. But then he's like, I figured out how to dig out of a grave. But he's narrating, and then all of a sudden, someone digs him out this time, though.
Mhm.
And it's Albert Einstein. It's young Albert Einstein. But then he's talking to him in German, and he goes, I'm sorry, lad, I don't speak anything but the Queen's English. And he goes, I'm sorry, my friend. English isn't too easy. It took me 3 days to learn it. He's like, you learned to speak English in 3 days?
Oh,
And Einstein
man.
goes, well, it should have been 2, but I was distracted. I'm like, wow,
Wow, that's
so
incredible.
He's like, he introduced himself. My name's Albert Einstein. He goes, okay, Einstein introduces himself. And then the last 2-page spread here is where more of those hooded, like occult-looking guys in robes show up. They're like, kill the boy and collect Mr. Pure. We've been looking for him way too long, right? And then it goes next month for issue 2, a genius and an idiot, So that's how.
Speaking to the red coat, yeah.
Speaking to the red coat, that's how issue 1 ends.
Mhm.
I'm going to read a little excerpt that Jeff wrote in the back. Jeff wrote this in the back going, on behalf of everyone here at Ghost Machine, we want to thank you for your support now and over the years. Our goal is simple: deliver great comic books centered around great characters with the best art on the stands, month after month. We hope you enjoy our first wave of titles. The Ghost Machine month officially kicks off with Geiger #1, Record #1, and Rook Exit #1. This is back in April of 2024 he's talking about April 2024 is when they launched these books anyways.
Yeah.
And so Geiger is set 25 years in the future after a devastating nuclear war, focusing on the radioactive wanderer known as the Glowing Man, caught between the monster he's become and the man he once was. Tariq Geiger, I probably butchered the first name, I think, sets off across the irradiated and dangerous United States searching for a cure. But trouble always finds is the Glowing Man. Geiger asks the question, do you have to become toxic to survive in a toxic world? It's a great question, right? Plus, he has a 2-headed wolf named Barney, which is cool, awesome in my opinion.
Oh, whoa, hold on. It was 2-headed?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You
I
didn't realize
even
that?
realize
Yeah, he's
that.
2-headed.
That's
He's a
awesome.
2-headed mutant wolf named
Yo,
Barney. And
that's
of course,
cool.
Jeff writes here, who doesn't love mutant wolves? I mean, I do.
Yeah. Mutants.
Right?
Eh.
And Redcoat's adventure began during the American Revolutionary War. when a mystical ritual gone awry accidentally granted cowardly British soldiers Simon Pure immortality. Now, over 100 years later, in 1892, Simon's about to learn the truth behind that ritual, as he's targeted by the same cult that performed it long ago, along with a 12. I said teenage. He's preteen.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old know-it-all named Albert Einstein. Simon confronts the secret world of the founding fathers and their stolen magic. He may be a rebel and a scoundrel, but Redcoat's he's always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Separate from the unnamed. Separate from the unnamed, we have our sci-fi epic Rook Exodus, which introduces the war-torn world of Exodus and the battle between nature and technology, which is definitely something to relate to how man's in our world has always had nature and technology has always gone head to head.
Mm-hmm.
At the center of the story, the man known only as the Warden of Rooks uses his helmet to control birds while he searches for an escape from Exodus and back to Earth. But there are other wardens out there who have taken control of other animal species, and some want only to gather power and destroy all in their way. Choose your animal and join the fight. Again, thank you for giving Ghost Machine a try. Our next wave of titles launches in October, but we'll all be here every month with Geiger, Red Cook, and Rook Exodus. Until then, see you at Fan Expo in Philadelphia. Signed, my man, my hero, one of the best writers ever in this industry, Jeff Johns. That's a rundown of Redcoat number 1. So this first story arc, which we'll go on an adventure and talk about Redcoat, we'll break down. We'll just talk about each issue is what we'll do. And this first story arc here, he goes on an adventure with 12-year-old Albert Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tease issue 2. I will say there's a moment in issue 2. I won't get ahead of myself. I'll just say this: that Einstein his sister keeps having these dreams.
Yeah.
Dreams of a glowing man.
Which connects
to Geiger.
Oh my gosh,
right?
dude.
She has dreams of a metal man.
Which is Junkyard Joe.
And dreams of a man in a red coat.
Red coat.
Simon Pure.
Simon Pure.
So that's why 12-year-old Albert Einstein left Munich, Germany, to come to America to find the man in the red coat named Simon Pure.
Wow.
So this first story arc, he goes on an adventure with Albert Einstein. And I can't wait to get on, and once we get through that, I can't wait to talk about issue 9, which is a great issue just about friendship with Simon's, goes on an adventure with Johnny Appleseed. Of course,
right.
If you know any American folk tales stories, Johnny Appleseed, the guy who run around planting apple trees, right, across America.
Yeah.
And we all love apple pie, right? I do.
Yeah.
America to me is apple pie and baseball. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
That's America to me. America to me, by the way, side note, is Superman, apple pie, baseball. That's the 3 things I love about America for sure. Superman, apple pie, and baseball. But Redcoat, what a great first issue.
Oh, amazing.
I mean, I'm telling you, Brian Hitch has some amazing, beautiful work. It's great. Brian can make some great emotional moments with characters and great action too. The 2-page spread of Simon jumping out of the window, that actually is the image they use, the panel they use for my Red Coat t-shirt, actually, by the way. So like, as you can see, well, folks at home can't see, but Jag and Jag, as you can see here, the 2-page spread, that actually is the cover, or the graphic, the panel they use for my Red Coat t-shirt I bought from Ghost Machine's website.
Just a beautiful picture of him jumping out the window.
And the glass shattering and everything.
The glass
escaping
shattering.
people after him.
The color pops so well,
the color,
too.
By the way, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. The colorist, I'm telling you, Brad Anderson is the colorist on this book, and I think just about all the Ghost Machine books. He's the colorist on Geiger, colorist on Junkyard Joe, colorist on Redcoat, and I'm pretty sure he's a colorist on Rook Exodus too.
Yeah.
He is one of my favorite colorists of all time. I'm telling you, the colorists, they don't get a lot of recognition, a lot of talk, right? They don't. It's kind of like this. Reminds me of like the sound designer in movies. Is like they don't get talked about a lot because if it's done well, if they're doing their job, then they don't get necessarily noticed. But like I'm telling you, Brad Anderson does some amazing color work. These colors are amazing.
incredible.
They pop. They look great.
The shading is
he's
awesome.
he's
that
col-
comes
he's
with
colored
it. Oh,
most of
man.
these Ghost Machine books.
Yeah.
He's colored like Batman 3 Jokers. That was by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok. It was colorist on that. He was a colorist on Doomsday Clock by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. He's actually been the colorist on a lot of the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero series going on right now through Image as well, too, and Skybound. Andy Kubert's been doing the covers for those. He's a colorist on that. Like, I think he was a colorist on Dark Knight 3, The Master Race by Brian Azzarello, Frank Miller, and Andy Kubert. Andy Kubert's also doing the covers of G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, the current G.I. Joe series by Larry Hama. Which there's two going on. We can dive into that another day. But anyways, Brad Anderson, follow him on Instagram too. He's also on Instagram. It's just go to your Instagram, search.
Pull out your phone right
Yeah.
there. Or if you're listening on your phone, pause this,
and
open
then-
your phone.
Yeah, open your phone.
And then get
Like-
yeah.
I know that Instagram wise, Jeff's got an Instagram. Jeff Johns does. Follow him. Ghost Machine has an official Instagram called it's like Ghost Machine Pro. Follow the main Ghost Machine page. Sorry, clear my throat. Follow Ghost Machine. Follow Jeff. Jason Fabok's got a official Instagram page too. Follow Jason Fabok, who's doing Rook Exodus, and follow Brad Anderson. He's got a Instagram page too. Follow him. And actually, I think in all the books, I think what they started to do now. Yep, right here in the back of the book, they actually put their handles, their social media handles.
Oh, wow.
So they have got right there, Brad Anderson at Comic Brad, Jason Fabok at J Fabok, Gary Frank also on Instagram at One More Gary Frank, Brian Hitch at Brian Hitch Comics, and I think it's on Instagram and Twitter. Well, I keep calling it Twitter, but Twitter.
It is Twitter to me.
Yeah,
it will never change.
Yeah,
to
it's like
me.
you know
that bird, the little bird.
Yeah,
for Twitter,
they got rid of that. The logo, right? But it's called X, formerly Twitter.
Yeah,
they keep calling it that. But and each book, by the way, too, there's a Ghost Machine. Get Ghost Machine. Get ghosted. Sign up for the Ghost Machine newsletter, and there's a QR code. You sign up for their newsletter on the email news list, which I'm signed up for.
Yeah.
And we got more images of all the creators at Ghost Machine, and everything. But we got all their handles here on the back of the book, and follow the entire Ghost Machine. Yeah, I think they're all on Instagram. I'm gonna double check, make sure I follow everybody. But they're all follow the entire Ghost Machine team on Instagram. Follow all of them. Check them out. But Brad Anderson, man, I'm telling you. Great, fantastic colorist. I love him. I love his work. And then Rob Lay, that's the last name here on the cover.
Yeah.
I love. By the way, the entire creative team: writer, artist, inker, colorist, letterer, all on the cover.
Right in the front.
Right in the front.
Wow.
So you see, everyone gets recognition. That's another reason why I love what they're doing. I love all these what the Ghost Machine as a company is doing, because everybody listed on the front, right on the cover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a big deal to me, because everyone contributes everyone contributes to a great comic. The writer does, the artist does, the inker does, the colorist does, and the letterer does. And of course, when you open a comic, the credits pages have them all there, but having everybody on the cover, that's fantastic, phenomenal idea.
Very front, yeah.
Right? And so Rob Lay does the lettering. And I'm telling you, too, unsung hero in comics, the letterers. You got to have some great font. You got to have some great lettering. And I know, and the letterer, also has to break down where the word balloons are going to be, and everything. It help with that.
Right.
We got to look at the writer's script, what the dialogue says. Each character is talking and saying and narrating, right, and everything. And of course we got and what's cool about it, by the way, a lot of Simon's narration boxes, which I love their graphic for the narration boxes, looking like an old letter from the late 1700s, right there, right? If you look, a lot of them, the first letter. This is I heard the church bell ring. the I is in cursive, like old style cursive,
Okay.
right? And then I like how it starts off, it goes, the entire building shook as the hooded man raised his hands. The word the, you know what I'm
It's in
saying?
cursive.
And cursive.
Wow.
I like that. It kind of starts off that sentence in that narration box that way. I love that detail right there. Unsung heroes in comics is the letterer, in my opinion. There's been some great letterers over the decades in comics, and Rob Leigh is one of my favorite letterers of all time, too.
Yeah.
Credit to him for lettering, I think, most of all the Ghost Machine books that they're doing, too, as well.
Mm.
So, Redcoat is a fun adventure story. I'm looking forward to the mystery behind the guys in the robes that did the magical spell that they're gonna make Ben Franklin immortal, but it hit a random soldier named Simon Pure instead. Now he's immortal and he can't die. So as we discuss this more, I want your thoughts, Jag. What's your thoughts on Redcoat?
My thoughts, dude, on this whole thing is the incredible storyline of how they follow a mix between, American history and a kind of a world that they've created in their own.
Yes.
They introduce different aspects, like the magic aspect to it, just the connections of these heroes that you wouldn't think would meet together. Johnny Appleseed and a Redcoat. You would have never thought,
right,
and that would ever occur. And just the writing of it and how it flows and how it's connected. A lot of what Jeff Johns, I believe I read or saw in an interview, was that a lot of his writings, a lot of what he writes about is between his friendships. Like this new one that's coming out, the Redcoat. Johnny Appleseed, Redcoat.
It just came out this month.
Yeah.
Issue 9 when he meets Johnny Appleseed.
That has a lot of connection between him and his one of his friends that helps him in with writings and with colorings and all that kind of stuff. That friendship kind of ties into their story a lot.
Right.
A lot of their stories and stuff like that. So a lot of these funny kind of banterings that you see within these stories, with Redcoat and all that, is Jeff Johns talking about his friendships and how he has connected with his friends, and so I really think that these stories, especially the point where you could just jump in and you're not connected to a whole bunch of other things. Not like you said, not to bag on like Superman and stuff like that, which are great stories too, but these are really cool standalone, just like their own universe, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And and just the creativity to think of these things. You know what I mean? Like, who just sits down and thinks of a world, post-apocalyptic world, with a guy who talks to ravens? I mean, that comes with such a creative mind,
right? Well, these people are like, most of these people are all of them are well-seasoned creators.
Over 20 years, I believe you said.
Yeah,
Jeff, 20
working
years
at DC, but like the rest of them, like I said, worked for. Well, he did some Avenger stories at Marvel before he was a DC guy, right?
Exactly.
But like, there's lots of between all of these people at this company, there's like decades of experience, of well-seasoned, experience in working in this industry, and the world of industry of comics.
This is their lifestyle.
This is just great creative people.
Yeah.
And like it's just great to see what they come up with together. And like, I don't know, like Jeff says that I've seen, speaking of interviews with him, like there's tons of interviews to go watch, several interviews with him on YouTube right now. I recommend everybody go watch them. I've watched, I think, just about all the ones I can find at this point now. And, he says, I want you to feel good after you read one of my stories. And pretty much all the Jeff Johns stories, I always feel good after I read them.
Yeah.
And like I always remember and feel for these characters too. And I fall in love with the characters, and like I love the characters, and I love, you know what I mean. And he's just great about getting you in. He's great about getting everything connected to and everything too as well. Yeah. And like I said, we're gonna dive into his DC stuff. Like I said, we'll talk about his Superman stuff. We'll talk about his Green Lantern stuff. But I just wanted to do a Ghost Machine overview talk about Ghost Machine as
Yeah.
much as I know so far, and just being a fan. Listening into interviews, reading the books, and just check, and just figure, and like I said, listening to interviews, reading the books, everything that I gather that I know of them about these amazing creators, and Redcoat might be my favorite, honestly, because I'm a big, as you know me, I'm a big history buff. I love history,
Yeah.
so I'm loving it. It's great. Like yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and I'm excited for us to discuss and break down, each issue as we keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm just looking forward to what
It's
they're
gonna
all
be
they're
fun,
doing.
dude. I'm excited. Well, dude, I wanted to thank you so much for joining on the show, man. Getting to talk about something that you love, and it's been an amazing world to start off with and start diving into. But thank you guys all so much for joining in, for tuning in to Cup of Joe and Jack. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I plug in your Instagram
Yeah.
there, sir? Awesome. This gentleman has an amazing Instagram. Why don't you tell him about your page and everything, like what you do and your photography, your
Oh
figure.
well, I'm just like an amateur toy photographer, action figure photography, however you want to put it. Because I'm a collector,
Mm-hmm.
and so I love, as I got on Instagram mainly to follow like comic book artists, I started noticing years ago that lots of people, take action figures and do photography with them,
Mm-hmm.
because it very much reminds me of like how with movies, they used the special effects were done with miniature sets a lot,
Yeah.
and models and things. That's what it reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, practical effects, and I love miniature, learning about behind the scenes on how they would make miniatures and models. And there's still a lot of practical effects used today, Of course, before CGI, it had to be done all of that stuff. And so I love being able to take an action figure, doing a cool photo, and making it look like it's a scene from, like a person standing there doing something,
Right. Yeah.
So it's it's interesting because it's called this because I'm a big comic book fan, but I'm a big Ninja Turtles fan too as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called @TurtleTalks84, all lowercase, all together, on Instagram. If you want to go follow me anyways, and I just post action figure photography.
Yeah. And at the end of the video, I could probably just throw up a banner on the top right there. If you guys want to click on that, it'll take you straight to his Instagram page, and we'll see if I can get that connected to it.
Sure,
And
that'd be
everything
great.
Like that, and put it in the description or
Yeah.
however we could get it on. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, like I was saying before. Thank you, Jeff, for joining in on this Cup of Joe and Jag. It has been a blessing to have you on the show. You guys have an amazing night, and I will see you guys later on. Peace out.